welcome to English for You. I'm Kat.
And I am Pat. We're talking about a Taiwanese writer and author winning a literature award today. So,
hooray.
Have you read anything good recently?
Not very recently because I've been very busy. You know, we read a lot at this job, but I think outside of work, not too much. How about you?
I've been reading a book by a friend of mine, J.T. Greathouse is his author name.
What a great name.
It is, yeah. He used to be in a writing group with me, and the guy got a book deal for 3 books. So I'm now reading the first one of his book, The Hand of the Sun King.
Wow, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's been going well so far. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Awesome.
Okay, well, what we're talking about here is somebody who doesn't just write books, but wins awards for the books she writes.
Exactly. She must be a great writer.
Oh, I'm sure, especially if she's winning a Japanese literature award.
Yeah.
So it's not just writing in her own language, she's writing in a different one.
Exactly. So why don't we learn more about this amazing author and what she won this award for? Let's take a look.
Reading.
Taiwanese author wins important Japanese literature award. A Taiwanese author won an important Japanese literature award in July. Lee Kotomi, Japanese pen name, also called Li Qinfeng, Chinese pen name, won the Akutagawa Prize for her 5th Japanese language novel. Its title translates to The Island Where Red Spider Lilies Bloom. This award is given twice a year. Lee is only the 2nd non-native Japanese speaker to win this prize, and the first Taiwanese author. The prize money is 1 million Japanese yen, about 255,000 NT dollars. Lee was born in Taiwan in 1989. She began studying Japanese at 15 and moved to Japan in 2013 after graduating from National Taiwan University. She then went to graduate school at Tokyo's Waseda University. Her first Japanese language novel, Solo Dance, won the Gunzo New Writers Prize for Excellence in 2017. Lee's latest novel poses questions about gender equality. Lee is known for exploring LGBTQ+ topics in her work. She hopes literature will help society change by offering different characters and stories.
So the article begins by giving us the main idea, the summary of this piece of news. It says, a Taiwanese author won an important Japanese literature award in July. Okay, first of all,
congratulations.
Yeah, great job winning a literature award. An award is some kind of prize for something you've done well, and this is a literature award, so it's almost certainly going to be for some kind of book. Literature is any kind of written piece of work or written art that's not just good now, but considered to have a great amount of meaning, a great amount of importance, and is likely to continue to be important for many years to come. It touches universal human ideas, that kind of thing. Even now in 2021, we talk about the works of Shakespeare, of Hemingway, of Chaucer, of Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
So these
Poe.
Poe. These are works of literature. They are still enjoyed, even though they're writing about things hundreds of years old in a style hundreds of years old. They still touch important human feelings and things like that. So a literature award is going to be for a piece of writing. It could be a book, it could be a play, it could be a poem collection, something like that.
And so who is this woman who won this Japanese literature award? Her name is Lee Kotomi, or that's her Japanese pen name, also called Li Qinfeng. That's her Chinese pen name. We don't actually know her real name. These are both her pen names, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It says Lee Kotomi, also called Li Qinfeng, won the Akutagawa Prize for her 5th Japanese language novel. Wow, so this isn't even her first book.
Right, she's written at least 5. This is probably the latest one. So what do we mean by novel?
Well, a novel is basically a long fiction book, but it's not just like a crazy fiction book, or it's not a graphic novel, although it is a type of novel, but it's a book that tells us a story, and the story usually tells us with some kind of realism, and it talks about things in a way that it might happen in real life. So even if it's something like a fantasy novel or maybe a science fiction novel, I think of Harry Potter or something like that, they still tell their stories in a realistic way, and they show what people might do if they were acting like this in real life. So yeah, and a novel is usually like, say, what, more than 100 pages long?
Yeah, some people go by word count, like minimum of 50,000 or 40,000.
Yeah.
It'll depend because some types of writing tend to be longer than others, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, we also saw that Lee Kotomi, let's use her Japanese name, is a pen name.
Yeah.
A pen name is the name you would put on a piece of writing that you've done. So a lot of authors use pen names because they want to create a bit of distance from them, the real person, and them, the author. So that you would see books written by certain, but that's actually not their real name.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to kind of keep a bit of privacy to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And so she uses her pen name to write her novels. And an example sentence for novel could be, the author has written 3 novels and is now working on her 4th. All right, so now she's written 5, and she won this big prize for her 5th one. We want to know what it's called, though. Its title translates to The Island Where Red Spider Lilies Bloom. In Japanese, that's Higanbana ga Sakushima.
That's really impressive. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the word title.
So I just told you the title in Japanese, and a title is a noun that is basically the name that you give to something, especially things like books, songs, movies, anything that needs its own special name. It could be anything like, you know, podcast episodes or maybe radio shows. It could be anything like that, where it needs kind of a name to tell about it and describe what it is, what it's about, that sort of thing. So this article has a title talking about Lee Kotomi and winning her award. All of our articles have titles. You can check them out at the top of every page. So an example sentence for title could be, the title of this book mentions a bird, but the story is about something else.
And we're saying that this title of this book, we're giving you the English translation. We're saying it translates from this Japanese term that Kat very skillfully pronounced to this English phrase. And that's what to translate is. It's to turn something from one language to another. Generally, we use it for written things. It's kind of a sort of a gray area between translating and interpreting. But translate we would often use when a book is written by an author in one language and then it's translated into another so that people in different countries can buy it and read it. You'd have to get a translator to do that job.
One book that apparently was translated very recently again into Chinese is Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
Our colleague is reading it. All right, so the article says this award, the Akutagawa Prize that she won, is given twice a year. Oh, so it's actually a biennial kind of award. It happens 2 times a year.
Okay, well that's cool. And what we do find out is that Lee is only the 2nd non-native Japanese speaker to win this prize and the 1st Taiwanese author.
Congratulations.
So yeah, all these books, this is for Japanese books. It's where you can't write it in another language and have it translated. This is a Japanese book. And Lee is a non-native Japanese speaker. So she speaks Japanese, but she's not from Japan. If something is non-native, it's not from the area in which something is happening. A non-native speaker of Japanese would be like me if I spoke Japanese. I'm a non-native speaker of Chinese, but I'm a native speaker of English.
Right, so your first language is your native language, and any languages that you learn later in life are non-native languages to you, usually. So the article goes on to say about the prize. The prize money is 1 million Japanese yen, which is about 255,000 NT dollars. That's a good chunk of change.
That's like a quarter of a million NT dollars there. You could do a lot with that.
Yep.
All right, so that's the prize. That's our main story. Let's learn a bit more about the author. Let's learn about Li. We see Li was born in Taiwan in 1989. She's younger than me. And
she's younger than me by 1 year.
All right, and she's written 5 books. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I guess she's worked very hard to, get good at Japanese, to get good at writing, and tell great stories. It says she began studying Japanese at 15 and moved to Japan in 2013 after graduating from National Taiwan University. Aha, so she's an NTU graduate.
Smart lass.
So now we're going to learn what it means to graduate from somewhere. To graduate is a verb that means to earn a degree or earn a diploma or something like that from a school, usually from your high school, from your college, your university, or so on and so on. So yeah, to graduate means basically you finished university and now you've got the paper to show for it. And you can also use graduate as a noun. So when we say it as a verb, we say graduate. But when we say it as a noun, we say a graduate. That's somebody who graduated, someone who earned their degree from their college. Or it can be an adjective talking about studies at a university after you earn your first degree. So if you're going to graduate school, that can mean something different. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But first, an example sentence. I graduated from high school in 2006 and went to college right after that.
Okay, so she goes to NTU, she gets her degree there. We then see she then went to graduate school at Tokyo's Waseda University.
Ooh, very big university.
Okay, cool. And that's what Kat mentioned when we can use graduate as kind of an adjective to modify another noun, and we get graduate school. And this is a place where university graduate studies. Okay, the graduates study. They finished their undergraduate degree and now they're going on to have a postgraduate degree, like a master's, a PhD. There are a few others as well, but they're carrying on their studies. Many universities will have both graduate and undergraduate programs, so you can maybe even stay in the same place or you go off to a different university and do it there.
Yeah, I think you and I both went to graduate school, didn't we?
Yeah, I did. I went up to Scotland to do mine. I think yours was...
Mine was online and I finished it here.
Congrats.
Thanks. All right, so talking about Lee Kotomi's story, her first Japanese language novel, Solo Dance, won the Gunzo New Writers Prize for Excellence in 2017.
Okay, so this one we're talking about today isn't even her first award.
Right.
Yeah, she's obviously got a lot of talent. Her first Japanese novel, we don't know if that was her first novel at all. She may have written in Chinese first, but her first Japanese one won this New Writers Prize. So this is for a writer's first book. And this was a few years ago. We also learned that Lee's latest novel, this is the Spider Lily's Island one.
Yeah, the island one.
Yep. Lee's latest novel poses questions about gender equality. Got a few terms to look at here. We're going to start with the verb pose. So the verb pose could mean something you do with your body, like stand in a particular way. But in the article, we're using the verb pose to mean ask a question or put something up, raise it to be considered by the public. So basically you're doing something, you're saying something, and you're saying, this is the question, this is the issue. Let's talk about it, let's answer it. The verb can also mean to actually cause a negative thing. We could say something poses a problem, something poses a risk or a danger, something like that. But here it basically means ask a question, put something up for people to think about. Here's an example sentence. During the meeting, the department head posed several questions about our current project. And here, the question posed in this novel by the issues raised, by the writing that was done, the thing it's making people think about is gender equality. So gender equality, composed of two things. Equality means things are the same as each other. And then you have gender, which is whether people are man, woman, something else.
And the idea of men and women and other genders being equal is called gender equality. It means everybody's on the same level. Nobody's better or worse than anybody else.
Yeah, nobody is treated worse, nobody is treated better, and so on. So we also learned that Lee is known for exploring LGBTQ plus topics in her work.
Right.
If you're known for something, it's what you're famous for. It's something that people will associate with you. They hear your name and they go, oh, that person is known for this kind of acting or these stories or doing this or being this kind of musician. People might say Pat is known for maybe some acting, maybe some writing, something like that.
Making good jokes too.
And a lot of bad ones.
So if what she's known for is exploring topics about LGBTQ plus issues. So LGBTQ plus is this long section of letters that stands for basically the queer community. It's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer and questioning, and others, which is the plus. So people who are attracted to the same sex, people who have a different gender than they were born with, that sort of thing. That's the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay. We also see that Lee's not just doing this for, for fun or for fame. She's doing it for a reason. There's a purpose to why she's writing these stories. The article says she hopes literature will help society change by offering different characters and stories. And this is important because people won't necessarily see things from different points of view. But when they read a book, they get a chance to kind of live inside the character's skin, understand a bit more about, that character, that society, that sort of whatever it is, whether it's somebody from another country or something like that. And this helps society. When we talk about society, we mean in general, all people living together, human society, the way we live together. It can be more specific. You could talk about Japanese society, you could talk about Western society, Taiwanese society, and so on. And in that case, you mean a certain area of human society, all of us living together as a whole. Here's an example sentence. World War II brought about many changes to society. For example, women started working in many different kinds of jobs during and after the war.
Right, so she talks about society, she talks about gender issues, sexuality, that sort of thing, and she has these interesting characters in her work. So a character is a noun that means kind of a person or, maybe an animal, something that has a personality that appears in a story or a book or a play, movie, TV show, that kind of thing. Any work of fiction will have usually characters. So you might have the main character, that's the person that the movie or the book is focusing on. Then you have side characters who are also there. Minor characters might not show up very often, but they're still in the story, that kind of thing. So characters are the people that a book is showing or the book is about. So an example sentence for character, the characters in this show are well written and funny. So I really like watching their stories.
Yeah, characters are an important part of any kind of work. If the characters are boring, they're not interesting, they seem very kind of, I do one thing and that's all I do, you're not going to be interested.
Yeah.
If they're rich and deep and have real lives you can get into, you're going to want to know what happens to them, and that makes you read. Well, that's congratulations to Lee Katomi for her award. Well done.
Yeah.
And that's the end of this article. But we still have time for our For You Chat question. Let's go there now.
For You Chat.
So our question is, which foreign languages have you studied besides English? And which would you like to study and why?
Okay, well, if I'm to answer this question, English is not a foreign language for me.
No.
But I mean,
we have studied it.
We have, yeah. I would say, of course, Chinese, because living here, you have to know some Chinese. I've studied Japanese. I took 3 years in school. Spanish, maybe a year. French, a tiny bit. Finnish, a tiny bit. German and Dutch, tiny bit. Yeah, I'm not, oh, and Korean. I lived in Korea before. So I know a little of a lot of languages, let's say that.
Okay, and is there any you want to add to that lengthy list?
Nah.
No, you're good with that
I'm good.
Okay. I did French for 5 years at school, German for 1 year. Forgot almost all of it, so we can forget about those. When I came to Taiwan, I did take Chinese classes for about 3 or 4 months before getting too busy. So sadly, my Chinese is not as good as it should be considering how long I've lived here.
Me neither.
Yeah. Is there anything that I would really like to study?
For me, I want to study Taiwanese.
That's a good one to study. I just am not very good at languages. My dad pointed out to me at one point, if you really need to learn it, you will study it. But if you don't, it's not the sort of thing you will do out of your own kind of interest.
That's true.
I have other things I want to do with my spare time, and studying language right now is not one of them. So nothing stands out as like, oh, I'd really like to learn this one day. But that's me. Hopefully you guys do enjoy studying languages. And that's why you're here.
Exactly.
Keep at it. Hopefully this article helped you learn a bit more English. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Kat.
And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review. Novel. Miley has written many short stories before, but this is her first full novel. Title: Jack and Fiona have decided to watch this movie. They don't know what it's about, but they like the sound of the title. Graduate. Steve worked hard in college so that he could get a good job after graduating. Pose. During the class, the teacher posed a question to the students about their own experiences. Society. If you want to be a respected member of society, you should treat people kindly. Character. Although Tony quite liked the movie, he didn't like the main character. He was too selfish.
智慧小补帖
Literature. Translate. Translate. Gender equality.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net